Hi guys, welcome back to the Forgetful Scholar, and this week we're going to chat about books, two books. So one is a revisit and then one is cozy mystery. So let's talk about the revisit first, and that was Tender Rebel, a Malory and Anderson family, book 2 from Johanna Lindsey. Now this is a revisit. This is a historical romance. This is 4 stars. I just wasn't in the mood for any of the romance novels I have on my TBR. And I was like, okay, let me read an old-time favorite to kind of get me back in the mood. And this revolves around Anthony Malory and Rosalind. I don't remember her last name. The Malory family is a very big British titled family. The oldest brother, Jason, is a Marquis, things like that. So Anthony's the youngest, and oddly enough, even though he's a rank, he's not like the black sheep of the family. That's his older brother, James. Now, in the Malory Anderson family series, I will say, and this book was published in like 1988, okay? So spoilers will be happening. I will say the beginning of the Malory Anderson family series is some of my favorites. Absolutely. As the series goes on for longer, some of them, like James's daughter, Jack hate her guts. She's so freaking annoying. Things like that happen. And obviously James Malory is like the favorite of the author. And you could tell a lot. You could really tell that in the later books in the series, because in the beginning he's there but he doesn't take over. Like, he's a secondary assistant character. He's either there to annoy, there to push the plot forward, or to be like help in a fight. You know, he doesn't take over, which is really good. But then later on in the series, he pretty much takes over, even when it has to do with like Anthony's daughters. And yeah, he's a girl dad, adorable. Even when it has to do with his daughters, James is in it more than he is. So that gets real annoying real fast later on in the series, just to warn you. But in the beginning of this series, some of my favorite books, right? So Anthony's a rank, and he's gorgeous, and he's hilarious. So he's very sarcastic, and I like that kind of humor. So he's definitely like you know, one of those scoundrels with a heart of gold, charming scoundrel type of thing. And, you know, he's not interested in getting married, right? James is there because he was in the first book, and James has a 16-year-old son, Jeremy, who also is one of my favorites in the series. Like, Jeremy, Anthony, Amy. Oh, I love Amy. They're kind of my favorites in the books. I like Derek, too. I'm talking, like, you guys have no idea who these people are, so never mind. People? Fictional characters. Never mind. I'm going to have to cut out a lot of rambling in this video, don't I? Okay. So Jeremy, because like their family is split in two. So in looks department. So half of them look like their great grandfather with blonde hair and green eyes. And the other half look like their great grandmother, black hair and cobalt blue eyes, right? And what I really like about this series is they have a holiday book I might read later on about their great grandparents and their romance. I might read that later on too. So that's kind of the thing. So Jeremy looks like his great grandmother with the black hair and blue eyes. So everyone, including Rosalind, who is the heroine of this book, I love that name, and I love her. She's one of my favorites. Thinks that Jeremy is Anthony's son, right? Now, the reason why this is 4 stars is because I think the argument goes on a little too long. And I think arguments in romance novels is like such a careful, like, has to be a precise kind of art form, right? Because especially arguments between the main characters, because you don't want to side with one or the other, right? You don't want to be like, well, like, he's right, she's such a bitch, or she's right, he's such an asshole. Like, you don't want to do that as the reader, or you don't want your readers to feel that way, right? So I will say that this argument went on a little too long. That's why it's 4 stars, because eventually, by like close to the end of the book, you're like, seriously, they're still fighting, right? So okay, so plot. let me get to plot. Okay, so Rosalind is half English, half Scottish. She's always lived in the Highlands, kind of secluded with her grandfather. And she nursed him when he was on his deathbed. And he wants her to marry fast because he wrote in a marriage contract she gets to keep all her money. The husband can't touch it. Like things like that, right? To keep her safe, right? Cool. Her distant cousin, Geordie, they suspect he killed her mother. He didn't, but whatever. And don't feel sympathy for him because he's trying to force Rosalind to marry him no matter what and not sign that contract. So if he doesn't sign that contract, he gets all the money, right? And then, like, she's afraid that she'll, like, mysteriously die in an accident after, you know what I mean? And don't feel bad for this guy because when he was a kid, he enjoyed torturing animals. So as a modern day audience, we know what that's a sign of. So, charming, smart, likes to torture animals. Run, girl, run. I have this weird shadow here. I'm trying to figure out how to get rid of it, so I apologize. I'm still trying to work on the lighting. I don't know. Anyway, so like run, girl, run, right? So she does. She runs to England where her best friend Frances is. And Frances and her childhood best friends. And she explains her situation, how she has to marry before Geordie gets there. She's not like a young girl right out of the school room. She's 25, still pretty young to me, you know. So she's not looking for love, but she wants to at least like her husband, you know, things like that. And Frances is the reason why Rosalind doesn't trust ranks. Like her grandfather told her to marry a rank, but marry a rank. And if you don't know what a rank is, it's basically like a man, whore, a guy that has slept with a lot of women, right? So her grandfather's like, marry one, but capture his heart because then he'll be completely loyal, right? But her best friend's like, don't, because she had an affair with a rank before she was married, and she got pregnant, and she had to marry a man she didn't like at all because the father of her child like left, right? From her perspective. That father of her child of her best friend happens to be Anthony's best friend. So she never wants to marry a rank for that reason, and I don't blame her. I wouldn't either. Anyway, so she's gorgeous, of course, but I like that her character is feisty and stubborn and she has a temper, right? But she has a great sense of humor, okay? And that stays consistent through the whole thing. And, you know, we see that she has a softer side and she feels guilt really easily later on, but she has this kind of, you know, keep people, especially Anthony, away, emotionally distance, right? So she's like the belle of the ball, you know what I mean? But she has to marry quick. And really soon in this book, like page 100 or around there, Geordie kidnaps her, drugs her and kidnaps her. She saves herself. And I love it. I love it. She gets out of it in a really smart, ingenious way. And also like, damn, she's willing to like permanently maim herself to get away from this guy. You know what I mean? And good for her, you know? And she's had some encounters with Anthony at this point. And of course, Anthony's like love at first sight or lust at first sight. You know, he doesn't realize he's falling in love. And the thing about them, they both have a temper, but like Anthony's temper runs cold, and it's usually like, it's always like focused on someone who hurt his family, right? Like I don't want to be like, oh, he has anger management issues. No, you know, he has a temper and he knows how to control it. And if you're a guy that hurt someone in his family, he'll happily beat the crap out of you. Okay? Okay. So, and they both have the same kind of sense of humor, right? He wants to be her lover, and she's like, no, I'm getting married. I'm not going to have sex out of my marriage. And he's like, he just thinks it's silly that she's rushing it. He doesn't know the full story, right? So after her kidnapping and she runs away, because, like, Anthony promised to get the dirt on the guys that she wants to marry. Because she has, like, a list of possible candidates. She's like, why should I trust you? And, girl, you shouldn't. But he's like, the faster you get married, the faster we'll become lovers. And she's like, she laughs because she figures, yeah, he would think that way, right? So after she saves herself from the first kidnapping, she runs to Anthony because she needs a name and she needs it now, right? And he's freaked out because Because he's like, why do you need these names right now? What's the hurry? So she finally tells him about Jordy and how she just escaped. She still has hay in her hair, like she just escaped. And he's like, what the, you know what I mean? So he tells lies about all the men that she wants to marry. And while you're reading it, you're not like, hey, wait a minute, how dare you lie to her? You literally are laughing. Like, you literally are just like, Anthony, you know what I mean? It's done in such a way because as he's telling these lies, his internal monologue, you get how much he cares for her, even though he doesn't realize how much he cares for her. And I think that was so well done and so clever because it would be so easy for the reader to be like, ah, fuck this guy. You know what I mean? Oh man, I really didn't want to curse in this video. Oh well. See, that didn't work out too well, did it? Okay, anyway. Right, so it's well done that you still find Anthony charming and you're not like disgusted that he's lying to her because it's obvious to us that he's in love with her even though he doesn't realize it, right? So he's like, well, you'll just have to marry me. And she laughs because she doesn't think he's serious. He is. They get rushed married, right? And then after they're married, he tells her the truth about how he lied about the dudes, right? And she's angry. And then she's like, why would you do that? He's like, because I was so jealous. I didn't want you to marry anybody else. And then she's like, so you must care. Like, internally, she's like, oh, he likes me. And I was like, girl, all right, fine. You know? Like, okay, girl. But also hilarious in that scene, you know? Because you read the scene, you're like, they're made for each other. This is ridiculous. But she puts conditions, and kind of ridiculous conditions, on the marriage to protect her heart. And reading it, you're like, girl, you're already in it, right? So him and James are trying to find Jordy because, like, what good does it do it if, like, she's married but he doesn't know? And also, he wants to beat the shit out of him, you know? And he's capable. Like, he's not just the typical ton, like he boxes, and he's like the only person that could ever win a fight against him is his older brother James, and most of the time that ends in a tie. Like, it's not even a given, right? Because James is the epitome in this family, whatever. Anyway, they go to some seedy places trying to find him, and there's this barmaid that sits on Anthony's lap. You know, she's trying to make some extra coin. Can't hurt, you can't blame the hustle. She's like, no. He's like, no, you know, because Johanna Lindsey does this really well. Listen, Lisa Kleypas. When the guy finds and just sees the main girl in the book, he does not sleep with anybody else. All right, Lisa Kleypas, you got that? I know most of your books aren't like that, but the two that I read that where the guy cheated, I was like, what the hell am I reading? Okay, all right. Anyway, so he's like, no, I don't want, you know, here, have some fun with my brother. I'm not interested. He comes home smelling of the cheap perfume that the barmaid had and the long blonde hair. So she's freaking out. He's freaking out too. He's like, how dare you not, like, the argument is ridiculous. And I don't blame her for automatically thinking he cheated because he's a rank and she doesn't know that he loves her. He doesn't even know that he loves her. And, you know, there's no communication on how he's not attracted to anybody else but her. He only wants her. And honestly, he lied to her the whole time. Like, he lied to her a lot before they got married. You know, after they get married, no lies. But before marriage, all lies. So I'm like, he's like, she should trust me. I'm like, bro, why and how? You know? Like, legitimately, why would she? And then she's like, he should have stayed faithful, which is fair, you know? She doesn't believe that he didn't cheat on her. So that argument lasts for like 200 pages. I'm not even kidding. So for the rest of the book, they're still angry at each other, but he's still looking for Jordy. And he finds Jordy and he beats the living shit out of him. Like, and I had to remind myself that this motherfucker, I already curse, so whatever. This motherfucker likes to torture animals. So yeah, I was like, okay, no, don't feel bad for him. He likes to torture animals, you know? Apparently he didn't know that she got married. And then he's like, oh, but she could be made a widow. So you're an idiot, dude. You're an idiot. But he never called off the guys that he hired to grab her. So she gets kidnapped again. And he's like, I don't want her. Like, the guy's a psycho. He's going to kill me. And, you know, they have a talk. And Anthony shows up to rescue her, but he's angry. And I forget why he's angry. Oh, still because they're fighting? I don't know. She does some boneheaded decisions during the argument, hoping like it'll lead to reconciliation, but never once does she say, hey, I want to work this out. Hey, I'm sorry. Hey, let's talk about it. She just like does stupid ass shit that like if he did to her, she realized it would really hurt her feelings. So I like that she comes to that realization, and she grows a little bit, because again, I have to remind myself, she's 25. Her grandfather just died. She has a stalker and a kidnapper. You know, she married this stranger. You know, she's going through a lot. So you kind of just remember that when you read her, because I think it's easy to be like, oh, she's a stubborn, hot-tempered, blah, I hate her. But just remember that she's going through that. And she does come to a realization and, you know, grows within herself by the end of the book. And it's a wonderful, adorable ending that reminds me why I love romance novels. So that's that book. And if you're looking for historical romance novels, I would suggest the Malory Anderson books. The first couple, at least. First 5 or 6, I think, are really good. I have to revisit the first one because I remember not liking that so much, but I should give it another try. I'm like slowly making my way in a weird order back to these books. Sometimes it does the heart good to like revisit your favorites, you know? Okay, so that's that one. Now the second one, Egg Drop Dead Noodle Shop Book 5? Yes, Book 5. Vivien Chang. So we're back with the Noodle Shop. I really want to continue this series. I want to know what happens. So in this story, the noodle shop that her family owns and she's managing, Leia is managing. Lana, not Leia, Lana. Lana is managing. She decides to do some catering during the summer because that's their like slowest time. So they're catering for Donna Fong, and I hope I get these last names correctly. I'm so sorry. Who was in the first book? She was the wife of the guy that died in the first book. Okay, so they're catering and it's a big fancy party, very wealthy home. Donna gets a little drunk, but like it surprised me to realize it's only been months since her husband. Not only did she find out her husband is dead, but he had a secret son who is Lana's cook. Like, she's going through a lot. You know, not that I blame Peter. He's awesome. I really like him. He's a very chill dude. Always like kind of the voice of reason in a very non-confrontal way. He's a good friend of Lana's, you know. Lana's nanny, not Lana, Donna's nanny ends up dead at the party, and the cops suspect murder. And for once, it's not Adam's case. And Adam is the homicide detective that Lana is seeing, and they're so cute together. Basically, Lana has to figure out, Lana is roped into figuring out who killed Alice. And I liked in this book that she kind of becomes friends with Lydia Shepherd, who is Private Eye. So I'm like, oh, good. You have some experience that's going to help you, girl. Good. And Adam is really supportive in this book because they had their huge fight about her doing this and stuff like that. So he's really supportive because he gets why she does it. He just wants to be kept informed because trouble finds her. Or she looks for trouble, whatever. Shit always hits the fan, right? So that's awesome. Their relationship is really cute and it's going on a great track. So like, I think I used up all my energy for the day. I'm done. This is also a 4-star. It's a cozy mystery. Forgot to say that. I really enjoyed it. I enjoyed checking back in with Lana, her family, and the grandma. The grandmother just reminded me so much of my grandmother that I lost earlier this year. Just like her silent feistiness is so reminiscent of Maggie that I got a little like emotional reading those parts. Yeah, because I miss my grandma. So it was a lot of fun. The murder with a lot of twists and turns. This came out 2020. So I don't want to give away who is the murderer. It was kind of convoluted. Not that the clues didn't add up. It's just because Lana is an amateur, so it's all over the place. And her ex shows up thinking they're going to get back together. I really enjoyed her telling him to F off. Like, I really liked that. It was very cathartic. Like, I was reading because who hasn't had, you know, horrible ex, right? So I was reading that part, and I'm just thinking like, damn, the author, this must have felt great to get this out, because you kind of tell it was more like, it was sort of like a personal fan service to herself for the author, you know, to get something off their chest. And I was like, girl, you go off. This is great. I'm enjoying it. Where's my popcorn? You know? And the third act conflict, like after the murder. Okay, so she figures out who the murderer is. She gets into a bad situation where her hands are tied. I liked that she did keep herself safe until backup could come. Like she was really smart in that scene, you know. And it's like, you know, her hands are tied, but her legs aren't. You know what I mean? And she used common sense, and she was like, okay, let's do, like, nothing she did was stupid or idiotic, right? And everything she did was very clever when she got into a bad situation. And I appreciate that, because like so many times in media, whether it's a freaking dumbass horror movie or something, mostly the horror movies, the main girl does stupid decisions that I'm just like, you had a lighter the whole time, and you were in the kitchen and the bathroom where there's the most flammable shit in the household. Yeah, the guy holding a knife is scary. Like, the murderer is scary until he's on fire. You know what I mean? Okay, anyway, so if you could tell, scary movies annoy the hell out of me. Can't read scary books, scare the shit out of me, because I don't know what it is. Like, my brain's like, you think that's scary? Let's up it. But horror movies, I get put out like that. I get so annoyed when the main girl does a stupid freaking decision. It's like, do you have no common sense? No life skills? Do you not know how to kick? Are your legs not working? Because you're running around, so your legs are working. You know what I mean? Like, headbutt. We got a forehead. Headbutt that shit. Like, I'm always get so annoyed. So that Lana had common sense, used it to help her and someone else out of the situation until backup could come, because she was able to call for help. That was lovely. I love that part. Okay, I'm done. I feel like I need another cup of coffee or maybe take a nap. I don't know. My energy is gone. So I don't want to, but it's time for me to get back to the real world. Like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you later. Bye. Hi guys, welcome back to The Forgetful Scholar, and let's chat about books, but this week's going to be a little different. I decided to do, what was it called? The mid-year book freak out tag.